Alright, well, I'm headed out to do some errands, reluctantly, obviously trying to stay in the house as much as possible. But we need groceries, and it's Monday, so I'm going to go out and see what I can come up with. We still got plenty of food, but I'm just going to continue my regular routine as far as shopping and, you know, get the stuff I need, maybe a little bit extra, but nothing really crazy. Just I keep watching the updates every day that they're having, and it seems like it's going to get a little worse before it gets better here. And not that I'm concerned things are going to run out. What I am trying to do is minimize the amount of time that we go out into public until this starts to subside. Mainly because of my mom and her, you know, medical issues. We're trying our darndest to limit the amount of anything that comes into her house, anything or anybody, which we've done really good with. And I mean, we sanitize the crap out of pretty much everything. So anyway, yeah, just trying to minimize our contact with the outside world, which sucks for all of us, but it is what it is. So let's get this done so I can get back home. And I think I'm going to work on the bus today. I did a little bit yesterday, so I'm hoping soon you'll start to see more bus videos. All right, well, I'm at the store here. You know, it's weird the things you think about now. My goal here is to touch as little as possible and to not touch my face at all once I get in there. I got an itch, I better get it now. And I noticed there's a cart right here in the rain. Now, I know moisture is supposed to help with it, and it lives on surfaces for a little bit long, but these are the things that we're all thinking about now, and you just don't think about before. But I'm going to choose this cart, even though it's wet, it's cold. I'm hoping it's been out here for maybe an hour or two, and probably doesn't make a damn bit of difference, but I'm sure all of us are thinking of weird stuff like this as we're going through this, you know, virus problem that we're all encountering right now. So I'm going to get in there and see what I can come up with quickly, efficiently, get my stuff, touch as little as possible, and get out and get back home. Alright, so I finished up my shopping. I would say that the store was not crowded. People were spaced out very well. They were actually sanitizing all the carts in there too as they were coming through, so I thought that was really good. I worked really hard to not touch anything unless I was going to buy it. I looked around like at all angles I could just by looking with my eyes and my head and reaching and picking up just the one I wanted. And whenever possible, I reached towards the back, knowing it had probably been sitting there a little longer. But again, I did it carefully not to touch anything else for anybody else's safety and my own. But overall, it went pretty well. Got everything I had on my list. The only thing they were out of completely that I saw was, of course, toilet paper, but I'm all set with that. Everything else, I felt they had ample supply, and that was here at Market Basket. So yeah, so now I just gotta load everything up here. Oh, that's a heavy one. Now I went to a line, not intentionally, but it happened to be two older gentlemen, cashier and a bagger. And at first I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter to me, but then I'm thinking it might have been a good choice because they're probably being extra careful, although everybody should be extra careful. I know how careful I'm being. It's the other people you got to be concerned about. But my guess is they were being pretty careful too. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut the camera off so I get the rest of this stuff in. Okay, now I just touched my glasses, but I will say I did good. I did not touch my face at all, and I don't plan to touch my face until I'm home and wash my hands. Should have a sanitizer in the car here. So all of this that I just did is all completely useless if I'm touching all my handles, steering wheel here, and don't do nothing about it. So when I get home, I will get the groceries put away, wash my hands, disinfect the door handles and stuff going into the house. Then I'll come back out to the car and disinfect the steering wheel, the shifter, the starter button, the back door that I opened to get into the vehicle. All of these things we just never really thought of before. And, you know, I don't know if it's helping or not, but again, my goal is to make sure I don't get sick or get anything that I can then pass on to my mom, who has multiple medical conditions. So yeah, so if you just go in there, so a couple things I want to talk about that I saw in there that could be concerning. Now, I saw many people with masks, which is fine, and they did say that, you know, hey, if you have them, go ahead and use them, but if they take those off at home and reuse them, if they happen to collect any particles that they did not breathe in and they touch that, then again, there's potential of getting the virus then. And I am not an expert. This video is just entertainment purposes only, because most of those masks are one-time use masks, or I know, oh, I gotta touch my face. I gotta try not to touch my face, I have an itch. Or they need to be washed if they're just a homemade mask or something like that. And I don't know how all that works. I'm not gonna get into it. But I know people are wearing masks, and I'm wondering, are they then touching those, taking them off, and then not taking the proper precautions after the fact? That's number one. Number two, many people wearing gloves. Now, I did see one gentleman with clearly throwaway gloves. They're really thin ones. Those are probably the best case scenario. Put them on, go in, do your shopping, and after you get your stuff put away, throw them away. And anything you touched on your car or whatever, your groceries, of course, clean, but then you throw those away. But a lot of people wearing, well, I guess there was a lot of throwaway gloves. My concern is, are they still touching their face or anything? And they're still touching a lot of products, and they're getting into the vehicle. I don't know when they're removing those gloves, and it's not, you know, I mean, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, other than the fact that if they're not taking the follow-up precautions of cleaning anything they touch with those gloves, then it was all for a moot point. It's not gonna really fix anything, because the gloves are gonna contain that virus if, in fact, it came in contact with it, and spread it, or potentially spread it wherever they touch. So if they don't go back and take care of those surfaces, then wearing the gloves was really not much good. For example, if they have the gloves on, they keep them on until they get home, put their groceries away, and then throw them away, are they going back to clean all the surfaces in their vehicle that they touch, handles, doors, knobs, windows, whatever, adjusting mirrors? Then wearing the gloves really was not much good, because if they get in the car next time, or a family member gets in the car, drives it, touches it, whatever, and it's only been a half hour or however long they say the virus can live on surfaces, then they potentially are picking that virus up and then could pass it on to themselves if they scratch their eye, what have you. So there is a lot to think about. Now, if you talk to my wife, you'll know that she'll tell you that I thought about all this stuff long before this virus. I worked in the food industry for years, and I was always very cautious. I washed my hands a lot. So these things, I always thought about a lot of this stuff even before this happened. I will admit that I'm thinking about it a lot more now, and really, you really got to think about everything you touch. Like my glasses, for example. Now, I have touched my glasses, and I do have wipes for those, but if you don't go back and disinfect it after you've been in an environment that you potentially could have picked it up, then you're not really doing a thorough job. And I guess I'll leave it at that. You know, some people are going to criticize me. And again, I'm telling you right now, I am not an expert. I'm just telling you what makes sense to me. And anybody that has some common sense to think about it, then I think they would agree with me. Now, I could be missing something, for sure, not being an expert, a scientist, or anything like that. But common sense tells me, if I've been in an environment that potentially has it, anything I touch thereafter, prior to washing my hands or my jacket, anything, could potentially be contaminated until it has been cleaned, you know, decontaminated, whatever. So I guess this went on long enough for now. I want to get these groceries home so I can decontaminate all that stuff and get it put away. Oh, one more thing I want to add that I did see disturbing, and this is something where people, I've seen this a lot before, but it's even more disturbing now. What's going on? A lady sneezed in her hand, coughed, And then she was in the freezer section, the open coffin type freezer cases. She sneezed in her hand and coughed, and then put her hand on the railing as she was walking, and her hand slid down the not the railing, but the top of the glass and metal thing that keeps the cold air in the cooler. So it's like, so you know, she's probably fine. It's not my point. My point is, if she has anything, a flu, a cold, sickness, virus, whatever it might be, she just smeared it all over that stainless steel case that she was walking. So anybody else that goes up and leans on it and then reaches in to grab and maybe lean on the front. So yeah, please be extra careful. Without being crazy, just be extra careful. We'll talk to you later. I have an itch on my eye and I'm trying like hell not to touch it until I get home. It itches. But I'm determined to leave it alone until I get my hands washed. All right, well, I'm back home. Groceries are put away. What a process. My eye is not itching anymore. I was able to itch it. I'm gonna go close this out, but a couple things I just wanna point out to you. So I just wanna move on to another video today. I'm gonna be working on the bus. I'd rather do some of that and just close this one out. But of course, we don't want people to panic, but I don't want people to have a false sense of security either. And again, I'm not a professional, just talking my thoughts and my feelings. But there's a lot to just bringing groceries home and making sure they're safe, or as safe as they possibly can be. So again, I went in, washed my hands, took care of the groceries, washed my hands again, of course, disinfected all the groceries the best I could. Certainly not a surgical room, but better than they would be if I did nothing and just put them away. But then on top of that, of course, I went back and cleaned all surfaces that I touched from the store to home and into the house. But then any of the items that did not have to be refrigerated, I left them exactly where I put them when I took them out of the bag, on a separate table. And they will, even though I disinfected them, I will leave them there. Because they say this virus lives on surfaces anywhere from 3 hours to a few days or whatever. Most of the stuff we don't need right away, so it's going to sit right there, labeled, do not touch until further notice. And as long as we don't need it, my brother's looking at me out the window, he's saying, hey, come here. So as long as we don't need those items, they're going to sit right there as long as possible to also help kill any virus that might have been sitting on them. So these are all things to think about. Now, one thing you may not have thought about is also this phone. I'm videoing on my phone right now. That also needs to be cleaned. So it's just, you could drive yourself nuts thinking about all of the possible ways. So you don't go crazy, just be safe, be careful. But I do have another way in a video I'm gonna do here coming up for people that stay at home, that think they're not think they're safe, but you know, relatively they are safe by not going out and about. But is there a way they could potentially still get the virus? And I thought of something talking about this video that I'm going to do in a separate video, just a short little thing, just to really, some deep thinking, I guess. All right, I'm going to close this out here. I just got to get the groceries over to my brother real quick and my mom, and then we're going to move on to some bus stuff. Talk to you later. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.